As you can see, the wealth of language, the imagery, and the delivery was exceptional. Let's hear it for our... However, there is no rest for the poet. So Arthur's going to come up and he's going to be kind enough to run the open mic. I can't read the print anymore to call the names, and I'll probably leave half of you out then.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, again. Remember me from when I was reading my poems? Wasn't that long ago? So here's the deal. I'm going to call people up in the order they're in the book.
All right.
And if they're here, fine. And if not, I get to read their poems. So first up, and with good reason, he's really, you know it about him already, but there's more people here than usual. John J. Trause is in many ways the beginning of this entire reading series going back 12 years. We know Della, Rowland ran the symposium, but you get a lot of credit for starting us off with these readings, and it's appropriate that you should be the first one up tonight. Come on up, John.
Thank you, Arthur. And I always give credit to Della because she did found the William Carlos Williams Poetry Cooperative. She realized that they were not teaching Williams in school, that a lot of people who lived in Rutherford, even for decades, did not even know who he was. So in the fall of 2005, she and Jane Fisher, the then director of Rutherford Public Library, put on this amazing, amazing Saturday. It was just one day back then. Saturday full of all sorts of aspects of William Carlos Williams' life. So I'm here because of that wonderful beginning. And this series, the actual series, was founded in January of 2006. However, the cooperative had been around since the fall of 2005, shortly after the symposium in September of that year. So I'll do two. You didn't say what the deal was. One, two. Okay. Obituary. Salvatore Cacosa. I read in the Daily Journal that you have died, that you were 72, a 4th Ward councilman, that you were born in Elizabeth and lived in Roselle Park for 50 years, that you were the owner and operator of Chick's Kitchen for 15 years, that you were also a banquet manager for El Pescador restaurant, that you were a communicant of the Roman Catholic Church of the Assumption and a member of its Holy Name Society, and also were active in the society's boxing shows, that you were also a member of the Retired Associates of Roselle Park, Boys Town of Italy, Rome, Knights of Columbus Council 3240, and American Legion Post 60, that you were an Army veteran of World War II serving in the Pacific Theater, that you left behind a wife, a daughter, and a grandson, etc., in perpetuum per omnia saecula saeculorum. And so I know that you were not full of shit. For those in the know, thank you. For those in the know, cacosa can mean full of shit in Latin. Poor man had that name. And I guess if it had another C, it could also be in Italian. Master Pompous Promenades, with a wonderful illustration by Don Zirilli. And this is based on the habits of Daniel P. Quinn, who has featured here, theatrical producer, director, poet, memoirist, curator, and impresario from Newark, New Jersey. Master Pompous Promenades. Kilo Lago Kinesis carries the squat sire to rush across Route 3 at its summit in Clifton, cochleating in a slimy swill while cars rush by in both directions. East, he jumps the divider. West, instead of plying the pedestrian underpass. Aesop ruminates another fable while Lytton Strachey limbs in imminent pedestrian disaster. faster and faster. Thank you.
So I was gonna say, regarding the rules, I learned a lot from Mark, because he's run the Gainville Cafe reading series all these years without any rules. Just letting people do what they want, and it's worked out great. So I'm not gonna be my normal prickish self and say one poem each for 3 minutes. But there's a lot of us here, and Sean is gonna come up those stairs at some point and say. So use your own judgment. Next up, and I've decided for tonight, everybody has the middle initial J. Same as Don. So next up we have Don J. Zirilli.
Thank you. The J is for Anthony. Page 47, 2 questions. I'm always asking myself one of these 2 questions. When did you realize that you were in over your head? That the proud mothers were expecting their progeny to be touted individually in your speech? That the pizza had a peanut topping? That Darren ate your note cards? That the dangerously old electrical system has never had so many fans plugged into it? That the little girl is standing on a table with 3 legs? That your mother is waiting in a train station 300 miles away? That the chairman of your organization was trying to tell you that he was being murdered? And the second question. When did you realize that you were not in over your head? That in a world of idiots, you are a genius? That abstract art is so widely accepted and even expected that you just keep handing in your palettes? That everyone is terrified of your right hand? That the thermostat is still set to the temperature you set it to 3 years ago? That your watch is self-winding?
Thank you, Don. Next up, since John J. Trause has already done the introduction, ruined it for me. It's okay. Got my shoulders. We have Della Rowland.
Thank you for that, John. I'm happy to be memorable. I'm going to read one that, after I read in the book, I immediately revised. So it's on page 54, but you'll see where it's revised. It's called "The Sky Instead of Dark Was White." The children had swaddled themselves, each in their own blanket on a pallet on the floor, under the window where they could look out at the moon, or up at the ceiling where the nightlight cast little crescents of its own. And I was near them, lying across the foot of the bed until they dropped off. But here Benny came, crawling into the crook of my knee, while Harper fussed with his sheets, remaking the pallet until I called her too, and she dragged her blanket with us to cover us. And we pulled Benny up beside us to lie like 3 dolls in a row. Benny whispered that he sometimes had dreams about monsters, Harper added. So we decided to conjure our own dreams with no monsters, to secure the night, each of us. Harper would dream of having chocolate tea on the moon. I'd be flying over an ancient forest with a dark green lake. Benny wanted to dream he was a shark swimming in the sea with his mom and dad and me and his big sister back from the moon, all of us sharks. But still, they wouldn't sleep, couldn't sleep. So we all went down to the pallet. and we lay on our backs, me in the middle, and we held hands until our breath came evenly, like the wind that lifts small wavelets on a lake. I turned my face to look out at the moon and saw that the sky, instead of dark, was nearly white behind the bare black limbs of the oak tree in the yard.
Damn fine poem. Ken Vanette's not here. Susanna Case, not here. But we do have Rachel Wagner. So let's give her a big round of applause. Oh.
I think you should do what you think is right. I think you don't know.
I have something to say. I think, Rachel, you might want to read something from your other book. Because
I brought another piece with me because I wasn't sure what the crowd was going to be like. So my piece is on 68, 69, but it's about sex work, and there's some little kids in the back, so I'm going to not read that one. No, I got a poem. I brought another poem with me though. Thanks. Yeah, I brought this poem. It's called After Prison. I brought it to the workshop once before. So it's called After Prison. While I was in college, my son's dad was locked up. We met only afterwards while I was in grad school and he was on probation. Still, we had our son, and still he tried to stop doing what he was doing. He tried. I was there and he tried. He tried Family Dollar, CVS, ShopRite, Rite Aid, a laundromat down the street from us who said they wanted a woman only, a restaurant down the street from us who said they needed someone who could speak Spanish. He tried dishwasher links on Craigslist, lawnmower applications, movie theaters. He got interviews sometimes, but never anything more. He almost got the one at the dollar store until they did their background check. Still, he was getting harassed by the for just walking down the street, thrown up against the wall or chased down the block. Still, I remember in those days, he would want to take the baby with him to the store or for a walk. Not necessarily because he wanted to give me a break or help out more. Not even because he really wanted to bring his infant outdoors. He told me it was because he could actually cross the street. Cars stopped for him at crosswalks. People smiled at him from inside store windows. And one time during that time, he cleaned bathrooms at a strip club for one day for $100. At one point, he spent $200 on a 2-day security guard class. He got there on time, he took the test, he passed the class. Then he got a call that said, well, actually, with your record, you can't get the license. Oh, and no refunds. I think that was the last one. After that, the packs in the closet were looking even more sweet than before, I'm sure. I didn't say anything when he started going out more. He left early and sometimes wouldn't come back until late. I still didn't ask, even as he returned with stories of getting ran into a store that let him hide in a bathroom stall, or ran down on in a building, or like he'd be sitting on the steps and would see someone take a picture of him out of an apartment window. They had their eyes on him, and all I could really tell him was be careful. And so for many months, after so many months, he'd end up back in jail, and they're still trying to keep him there, no bail. Now we all try to smile out through the thick plastic window in a small white room, Sundays or Wednesdays between 10 and 2. 2 knocks and we're going, 2 warnings and they hang us up. I still have an unfilled out baby book. I told him to do the dad page first. I think the baby wasn't even born yet. At the bottom, he confessed that he's not sure he's ready, and I never did the rest. That's it.
Wow.
I have a book for sale. It's called Back Like I Never Left. It's about dating as a single mother. It's funny, short, and it's $10 if anybody's interested. Thank you.
For those of you who don't know, Rachel's one of the stars who showed up at our workshop this year and has just continually impressed us with her voice and her writing, and not so much her line breaks, but that's coming. And another star who showed up at our workshop this year and really brought a completely different point of view to writing, because he is basically a visual artist, and seeing that translated into words has been a trip for both us and him. So why don't you give a big round of applause to Paul Leibow.
Thank you, I came here by accident. I had a friend who lived in town named Milton, and he was a poet. Sadly, he's not here tonight. But he asked if I would give him a ride here. And I was like, no. He goes, no, you'll like it. It's a lot of good poets. A lot of good poets here. I said, I don't really want to get back into poetry. I get too stressed out. I write over and over and over, and it just makes me too nervous. I don't want to do it. And so I pretty much just sort of said no. Then I saw him at an art show, and he said, Paul, what about that poetry event? And I said, I don't think so. I said, but thanks. And he said, no, you really liked it. And I said, nice set of poets here. Anyway, I saw him again, and he asked me again, and I thought, you know what the hell, I'll give you a ride. So I got there, and I met these poets. And I've been to other poetry events, and I was shocked. I mean, these poets really spoke to me. And I find a lot of poetry, to be honest, boring. So when I listened to these poets, it moved me, it touched me, and I tried to write poetry again. And these are two quick ones I'm going to read tonight. And I thank them for inspiring me, and that's why I'm here. This one is called Bullied in Bull Clothing. Worried as a kid when I got bullied. Worried because I came one. Worried because deep down I knew I wasn't a true bully, just the bully in bull clothing. I worried when my mom worried. I told her to stop. She worried about everything. Not really. She worried that I hated to read. Said a man could spend his entire life doing something. Then you could read and learn all about it in around a week. I told her, I'll be that guy. In the book, others will read about. I'll decide, Jack or Dean, who I'll be, the cascading comedic Cassidy. I worried like Wembley when I went in the ring, worried I'd get my ass kicked. Nervous about fighting boxers I didn't know. Guys cut with flex-drenched muscles, around the dank gym with ill-planned tattoos, as if they were fresh out of lockup. They were. Maybe, or just had that new sprung out of prison smell. Guys so fucking fast you didn't see it coming, who most definitely could knock me out. I wrapped up my hands tight, fit on my 16-ounce Everlast, and felt the sting of every last hit laid upon my jaw. Until I didn't. I learned in the ring there is no law, just rules. Few follow. Worried in my half-assed rope-a-dope, but years passed at the heavy bag, double-ended bag, and speed bags. Now I was quick. I knew boxing was done from the feet, so I watched their feet. Now it's my turn, and they're gonna feel that shit. I had no attitude, no regulation tats, barely a nice Jewish boy bicep, but I could go 12 rounds. I lasted their speed, their anger, their whatever. Well, until I challenged a heavyweight. I was a welterweight, and the oversized t-shirt covering his shorter stature hid his true size. I should have worried, should have asked his weight. At over 200 pounds, his fist connected a massive lightning bolt of a blow. In seconds, pounding thunder I felt for the next 2 days. I kept worrying how real serious troubles abound after I found my world's caving down. But I'm cool, I'm over that now. I ended my worrying for good, but that's a lot. I'll do one more, do we have time?
Sure.
Yeah, it's a quicker one. All right. This one's called Car Bed. Longing for sleep, delirious out of it, not knowing day or night of it, confused upon woke of it, beautiful sleep. In deep slumber, I used to fall away through the night when I gave into his wishes, broken down by a quiet plea, gently begging me, Dad, please come sleep in my bed. Lying next to his little body beside me, snug in the twin together, in between the rails of the long blue car, in his room. There I don't toss, there I don't turn, occasionally lifting one of his limp, delicate limbs off my torso, then back under into the sublime. Suspended in tranquility, knowing he's in the safest place next to me, delightfully groggy as we drift on to snooze. This was years before sleep apnea, Years before waking 2 times a night, before drinking 3 cups of grounds, drawing my eyes sockets open, reorientating myself in the morning. Now, sound of the dog barking at midnight alerts me my boy's home. After all these years, somehow he still comes to call. His feet stepping slow up the creaking steps into his room alone. He might check if I'm awake. And in a younger voice, reserved just for me, Dad, come say goodnight. A wonderful request allowing me back. Hearing his smooth sounds of solace arrive, I exhale, knowing once more he's safe in my arms of our home, as if lying down next to him all over again, letting go my soft night breath in the car bed. Thank you.
Telling you, they just walk through the door like that. Full of talent and poetry. All we do is listen. Mary Ma's not here, and she's another one who's just completely revolutionized our way of thinking. But she's not here. So we're going to hear from Claudia Serea. Claudia.
Everyone, thanks for being here. I'll read 2 poems, one from page 84. Once I went to a psychic who told me the future is meant to be. This water bottle, this thirsty gulp, this messenger bike crossing at crazy speed, this crowd at the traffic light, this new skyline, everything is meant to be. This suitcase I pack all night. This camera I bought because I didn't have any pictures of my previous life. This woman who volunteers for a church, who gives me her business card with a number I'll never call, are meant to be. This one-way ticket, this stamp in my passport showing this alien number are meant to be. This customs officer who looks bored, hands me back my papers and says, "Welcome to the United States," without a hint of kidding. This new money, they can't buy back my life. This pair of Roman sandals, this step away from the past, towards you, all are meant to be.
Yeah.
And this one is on page 86, The Moon, My Brother and I. The moon, my brother and I sit outside at the wooden table, covered with a white cloth, and drink wine and moonshine from shiny tumblers. And we figure out the Americans, the Russians, the Romanians, the EU, and the Chinese. We're all well versed in this. From decades behind the Iron Curtain, we know all about special interests, corporations, the military complex, stolen revolutions, the FSB, the Mossad, the CIA, the nationalists, and the globalists. Pour me some more freedom, baby brother. Alcohol makes me understand more. In its glaze, we see clearer for a few brief moments and agree, we're fucked. And we sleep well tonight. Happy at least we get it until morning when everything is different.
Thank you, Claudia. And I think somehow when you're reading, I didn't mention that you're part of the Gang of Five, but also that Claudia does all of our graphics work for all of our monthly readings, which are wonderful. She also does the graphic work on our annual journal. And so if it's not too much, would you just give her another round of applause? I was just a little excited before when I left that out, but as soon as she got up here, I said, oh shit, what did I do? But I think it's better now. Melanie Klein can't be here tonight, but she's in our thoughts. Next up, we have the amazing pair of Sidorella Risto and Petraq Risto. Let's have them up here. Come on, brother. Sidorella usually tells us this, but her father's a great Albanian poet whose stuff is translated, and she does some of the translations, and she reads them. Do you not want to come up, Petraq?
Okay. Yeah. Let's go. Okay, this is my father. And so my father is a very prolific writer. I'm amazed at the amount of writing that he does on a daily basis. He lives poetry. He is poetry. So I'm really excited to read his poems tonight. I'll read two short ones, but they're powerful ones. I love the imagery. Irritability. Sometimes I move my hands in the air. I scratch the sky with pigeon wings. Most people think I talk to myself, wanting to fly. The air, tempted, becomes an apple in my hand. Sometimes I scream near the ocean to confuse seagulls and albatrosses. But they don't know a pilgrim's longing. To them, my cry sounds like an SOS from a vessel that sails through a troubled soul. I return to my homeland with tear crumbs in my eyes and an apple of air in my hands. Written on the wall. When you find the old book written on the wall, do not forget to look from the other side, to read the same book from a different viewpoint, and to understand why the wall does not collapse. Then you can lean on the wall to naturally transmit to it your heartbeats and the heavy words written in stone, to engrave them in the shape of the window. This way, others can also read the wall. Okay, so my daughter, Sayuri Sanchez, and Amani Sanchez, my daughters are here.
What are their names?
Sayuri and Amani. Sayuri just told me she wants to read one of my poems, and I felt very touched, so I'll let her read Prayer.
What page is it on?
Page 98.
Bring the mic. Go ahead.
Guitar strings strumming off beat.
Wait, gotta get a little closer. Just a little bit closer.
Guitar strings strumming off beat, assenting to malnourished sounds of voices I buried deep. Now I am holy ground. Time bows to me in the gentle motion of swallows weaving sign language in the air. I place a crown on the minutes I will to spend, honoring the details that sing, casting out the future. That one yellow thread in the path of self-reflection, whether to pluck it or strum it, a dangerous diversion. I need to become it. Hosanna.
I'll read more. This is something about swimming. Something about swimming. This poem I wrote a long time ago, actually. Here we go. You got it.
Just like this.
So it's something about swimming. I wrote it, I think, when I was in college, actually. So, when I was a child, I swam like a fish. Hands in the shape of a prayer danced over the sea. My feet fought the innocence of waves. Half waltz, half flamenco, half fish, half flesh. Facing the mud, back against the sky, I was a child. 2. Butterfly stroke. I embrace life with fallen arms. Prayers are bullets. My mouth, the throat of a gun. With God as my commander, I shoot. Enemies, I have none. Naive dolphin. 3. Life is the stomach of a fish. Like Jonah inside the whale, am I a dirty pearl in the world's stomach? 4. Part, waves, part. I need to flee these sharks, swimming in the ocean of my being. Thank you very much.
You know, it's only 2 days since the end of Poetry and Translation Month. So this could be considered a poetry and translation event that we just had.